And we're back talking more about the state of things in both the city of Knoxville and Knox County with two leaders. Terry Hill leads the Knox County Commission, 11 members. She is the chair, newly elected on September 1st. Vice Mayor Andrew Roberto in that role of Vice Mayor for a couple of years now. Don?
And Terry, just to sort of conclude on housing from a county perspective, it's always been said, and I don't think it's necessarily true, the city's about bricks and mortar, county's about services, but what role can the county and county commission specifically play in an increase in affordable housing, both at the lower income level and as well as at a middle class level, where we can, for example, there aren't a lot of apartment complexes in Knox County. In fact, if you get to Farragut, and I know that's not your domain, there's actually restrictions at some level. So what do we do to address that in that part of town?
Well, I would challenge you on the not so many apartments anymore. They are actually being built just about as fast as they can
Cumberland,
be.
On Cumberland.
Well, we're talking about Knox County.
But I mean, even in Knox
out in the
County, yes. If you drive through, especially the West End, there are huge apartment complexes going up everywhere. Another thing we're seeing a little bit more of in the county, because it's more traditionally been the single-family homes, is a lot more townhome development, and that seems to be becoming more and more
affordable?
Popular. Sometimes they are. Some of them are. What is your definition of affordable?
I mean, can a family move into a 3-bedroom townhome for under $200,000?
No. Or I would say it would be a rare exception in the county. Yeah.
Well, the rental problems are obvious in the city and the county.
They are.
And this is, I know I was reading an article about the apartment complex out on Cedar Bluff, you know, that the tornado hit.
Yes.
And there were like 400 people displaced. They have nowhere to go because A, there isn't housing available, and B, they can't afford the rent that's happened. What has caused this? Have there been any studies, I mean, other than greed? Demand. But I mean, what is happening and how do we deal with that? I mean, I'm Republican, I don't believe in rent caps, you know, but what do we do? And I guess it's more in the city than it is the county.
Well, state law prevents rent caps, so you don't have to think about that as a starting place. I really think this is a supply and demand issue, and that's why doing the development along the corridors with the mixed use that we've already put together is the right approach. That's where you have the ability, because you have infrastructure there, bus routes, we can do streetscapes. There's a lot of opportunities there, and what we've got to do is get that out in front of the development community and activate the private sector to deal with that. The city has our affordable rental housing fund, which has been incredibly successful. You know, we can do something, and we are, and we're producing housing for affordable, that is affordable, when we're using our TIFs and pilots and those types of incentives. We can do that more and accelerate it even more if we do it on the corridor.
What do you say to neighborhoods and communities, because we have seen some pushback on changing up single-family homes? What is that definition? It's different for a lot of people, as we just talked about. What is your definition of a livable wage is different?
Well, I mean, I think you bring up a good point about single-family homes. We have a limited number of single-family homes. We got to keep in mind that for working folks, that's their biggest single investment. It's my single biggest investment that I have. And we want to make sure we're encouraging home ownership. We want to make sure that we're not having unintended consequences for anything that we're trying to do that will make, you know, outside corporate interests, which are buying up lots of homes and then renting them out, or other things to happen where there's not opportunities for ownership, because that's just going to increase the wealth gap that's out there.
Is there an appetite for density and mixed use in the county that you see, Chair Hill?
It's nothing like it is in the city. I will certainly tell you that. People, for the most part, are still very much into the traditional 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I want my own yard and that type of.
But you can't do that for $200,000, can you?
No, you can't, and you can't even do it for $300,000 out in the county anymore. Unfortunately, we in some parts of the county have had a lot of pushback in trying to go with more low-income housing.
Chodo?
Yes.
That just happened
Chodo
this past week.
in my view, quite embarrassing.
Is that an example of that, a not in my backyard mentality, do you think?
That's exactly what it was, and it was very, it was really distressing to hear, because this was housing that was going to focus on this this gap, as Andrew's talked about.
People making anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000,
$70,000 a year. I believe the income cap out there for a family of 4 was $69,000. And as you said, that is our teachers, that is our policemen, our EMS folks, and the community pushed hard enough to make it not happen.
And it's important to note that project had the buy-in of Planning Commission. They checked all the boxes.
Unanimously. It sure did.
Pushback from the community saying this isn't what makes a good community.
Right.
But isn't that what always happens? And I mean, we see it time and time again. You know, the neighborhoods come, they lobby, and you know, they fail.
Well, I will say, Susan, more and more though, that there is, I am noticing a lot more discussion and willingness on the part of our developers to talk more with the neighbors, so to speak, and try to set the stage, ask them what they'd like to see, and many of them, and again, I'm speaking primarily the West End, have begun to hear us and come up with more concessions, more green space, walking trails, you know, room for a playground, this type of thing, which I will say, before there was more community activity, were things we didn't see a whole lot of. So there
are not many walkable neighborhoods, areas in the county, or at least certainly compared to the city, where you can have your little burg where there'll be a store and a playground and a school and a neighborhood.
But that's changing.
But that's starting to change.
It is changing. It is changing, and it's good to see, and people want that, but it still requires change. And as you know, anytime you're asking people to change, it's a tough nut to crack.
We're going to go ahead.
I was going to say we had no affordable housing units in the 2nd district, the district I represent, and then in 2017 we've had at least 3 projects, so we're doing it now. So that's all. It's happening all across our city. It's not just limited to any one place. But when you're thinking about the properties that are out there, they're challenged, because everything's been built. So if you go into a neighborhood and you're looking at, I want to develop here, there's probably a reason somebody didn't develop there. And that's why I think you hear a lot of pushback from the neighbors, which is again why we need to get on to the corridors and the mixed use.
All right, we're going to take another quick break on Inside Tennessee. Back with more of our conversation right after this.